Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne here with you on this Monday morning. We're broadcasting live from the man cave up here in Clarksville, Tennessee, of Audrey's brother, my brother-in-law, Kurt Ham. He is a Vol for life, no doubt about it. And a lot of games happened over the weekend. We went to the Auburn Vanderbilt game at currently being renovated Dudley Stadium, Dudley Field at Vanderbilt. And my wife, Audrey, who is a psychology major, said that the stadium at Vanderbilt is a Skinner box. And I had to kind of do a double take. She goes, B.F. Skinner, the behavioral psychologist, you would put the rats and the mice in the box with all the little, compartments and all. They had to figure their way out of there. They should have just canceled all home games at Vanderbilt. That is a cluster fudge. It's ridiculous. I know it's going to be nice. It's going to be really nice when they finish it. But why not play the games at Nissan Stadium? Maybe they were worried about having small crowds in there, but my goodness, when you play Auburn, Auburn could have filled up that stadium. Their fans travel, but that is it's a miserable experience to go to a game, and they've waited 40-something years to do anything with that dump of a stadium. Vanderbilt's a damn good school, but I've never seen anything that big of a mess. But it's going to be really nice when they finish it. But man, they shouldn't put everybody through. They should have played them at Nissan Stadium. And they've got, Clark Lee is working his ass off to try to build a program. They've got to support him. They've got to support him. Their fans, they deserve. Honestly, they don't. Nobody should be put through in the Skinner box. That's the new name for the stadium. It's the Skinner box. Hey, we're here 25 times a month, at least 300 shows a year. We don't do it just part-time. We do it full-time. Repetition's the mother of all skill. Follow us on all social media. All the banner up there underneath, if you're watching live on YouTube, is clicking. But Mitch Davis is with us right now down in New Albany in the top of the SIP, Mississippi. And Mitch, man, where do you start? I just got to say, they read off 10 students at Vanderbilt. They didn't have a homecoming court. You didn't have the girls out there with their dates, with their guys, their boyfriends, or their escorts. They just read off 10 majors. And some of these, I would be pissed off if I were a parent and my child was getting a major in this. One of them was something about the music industry, working with those as yet unidentified. Now, is that discovering unknown talent? I don't know. But only one kid that was out there had a major of science and math. I mean, good grief. What are you going to college for? I mean, now, even if you have a degree in journalism and broadcasting, you better have a strong business background or a relationship with a certified public accountant, a CPA. But anyway, let me say real quick, if you are getting out and about today, you see the hat I'm wearing, Red River Ford Toyota in Wynne, Arkansas. I was over there last Thursday getting my oil serviced and the rotated tires and balanced and all. Lynn Hutchison, the new service manager in there, I met him. He's from Ridgely, Tennessee, up around Reelfoot Lake. Great guy, great, super guy. Vol for life, by the way. His wife, Razorback for life. But great people to work with over there. They now video, Mitch, when you take your car, truck, or SUV in there, the whole process, and then they condense it down with the tech that's working on your vehicle. I've never seen that before. That is Red River Ford Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas, 45 minutes from Memphis, open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Service department on Saturday mornings, 7 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Mitch, let's get started with the good, the bad, and the ugly over the weekend. And first off, thanks for taking time to join us this morning. You look like you are ready to say a few things, and you have the forum to do it here. Top of the morning to you, my friend.
Lord, thank you so much, Rob, for having me on. It's a little under the weather. I've had a cough for the last 2.5 weeks, so kind of still dealing with that, but it is what it is.
It's allergies.
A hell of a weekend for football.
Yeah.
Really, if we want to talk about Mississippi State, I
Oh gosh.
don't even know. I really,
Get me
truthfully,
started.
I don't know. Of course, I went to the Ole Miss game. I pulled a doubleheader on Saturday, did that. And basketball starts today. So there's a lot of excitement. But if we want to focus on Mississippi State football, then I may or may not be losing my credentials today. So
Well, let's do it. Steve in Memphis. What happened to Mississippi State?
at this point, I have no clue. Let me be careful how I put this because I don't want to not sound professional.
Yeah.
Mississippi State is in such a weird position right now because yes, Mike Leach passed away last December. No doubt about it. It is what it is. It's tragic. It's sad. It is what it is. Coach Arnett was brought in to lead the program into the future of Mississippi State football. He had been around Leach for 2 years. He had been kind of, training under Leach. When Arnett was hired, he got rid of all the former coaching staff, brought in his guys, Kevin Barbay included, and was given the keys to a program that was coming off a 9-win season.
Correct.
And as much as we want to say it's tragic and that he went through what he had to go through with Coach Leach and all that, sooner or later, those excuses got to stop. They have to. Coach Leach passed away a year ago. As tragic as it is, as heartbreaking it is, because Coach Leach was very, very good to me. He came on the podcast a couple times, always very kind to me in the press conferences, practices, always a great man. But sooner or later, you got to take responsibility for the actions of your team.
Yeah.
And we saw Saturday night, and this is not a knock on Kentucky, but they're not a good football team. They're not Alabama. They're not a good football team. They're a mediocre. They'll go to Music City Bowl, Duke's Mayo Bowl. They'll go to a decent bowl, but they're not a great team. They're not like this team that you can't beat. The crowd was electric. Davis Wade Stadium was rocking. Jackie Sherrill led the 98 team out on the field before the game, which is really cool to see. Got to meet Coach Jackie Sherrill.
Wasn't he cool?
Nice guy. The excuses have got to stop. I want to be somewhat sensitive to what happened to Coach Leach because as tragic as it was terrible. But you have to wonder if Coach Leach, if he was still around, if he would be proud of this program. And Coach Arnett was given the keys to a Lamborghini and has now driven that off the cliff. And the reality of it is Mississippi State is likely not to go to a bowl game this year because they'll have to win 2 out of the next 3. They play at Texas A&M on Saturday, Southern Miss on the 18th, and, of course, the Thanksgiving Egg Bowl game against Ole Miss. They'll beat Southern Miss, but those other 2, man, they're going to have an act of God to get out of there with the 6 wins. So that's kind of the current state of the program. Again, if I offended somebody about that, I apologize. I try to be sensitive to death, but the excuses have got to stop. It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, if a dog will bite, he'll do it when he's a pup. I've heard that all my life. If a coach is any good, you're going to see it in the first year. I don't care how bad things are. You're going to see fight in that team, and they've got to show you that. And what I don't understand is, and I like, Will in Memphis, why reinvent the wheel? Why do the coaches do it sometimes? Like, this is going to be my program. Look, Ray Perkins, when he took over for Coach Bryant in 1983, he took down Coach Bryant's tower because he wanted it to be his program. Immediately pissed off Alabama fans. Okay. Tradition never graduates.
Yeah, and it is so crazy because Coach Arnett had opportunity after opportunity to go get Garrett Riley. He had opportunity to go get Kendall Briles for an offense coordinator. Could still run the air raid. Let Arnett run the defense, and that's fine. The defense has been okay. But instead, he went out and hired a guy, Kevin Barbay. We saw in the fourth quarter on Saturday night against Kentucky. Chris Parsons, a true freshman, come in, did a great job. But unfortunately, the coaching staff said that if Will Rogers is healthy, Will Rogers could be the guy. That's all fine and dandy. But if you're not going to change the system, if you're not going to fit Will Rogers' game, then what's the point of bringing him out there if you're just going to waste away his talent? So there's a lot of question marks right now in Starkville. Obviously, I went to Ole Miss and I saw Ole Miss play. Ole Miss is a lot better team. They are a lot better position right now. And I'm not saying, Coach Leach wasn't building Mississippi State, because Coach Leach was recruiting. He was building Mississippi State for the future. They had just come off a 9-win season. They had just beaten Ole Miss. A lot of excitement was building around this program. Coach Arnett takes over, and things have just gone south. He's not recruiting to the level of Coach Leach was recruiting. He's not bringing the talent. He's not coaching to the ability of Coach Leach. So, yeah, it is frustrating if you're a Mississippi State person. But the positive is Mississippi State basketball is really primed in position for a really, really good season. Even though they lost Tulu Smith until mid-January, this Mississippi State basketball team, and Ole Miss as well, they both got potentials to be very, very good basketball teams and finish within the top 4 or 5 of the SEC this year.
Yeah, we had Coach John Brady and Tommy Kane on basketball Friday from 8 to 9, the first hour, both of them together. A lot of fun. And Coach Brady, because he coached at Mississippi State before, and he said there was a charity game last week between Southern Miss and Mississippi State. He thinks the Bulldogs can be in the top 6 of the SEC, and that puts you among, top teams in the country. One thing about Mississippi State, they're very resilient. They have extreme passion among their fan base. They're loyal. They're an ag school. They're a land grant school. As Maury Gaston said on the show Saturday on a comment, they don't go around with their noses in the air. They're hardworking people who believe in God and country, great values. They really do. And football this year, it's been a nightmare. And here's Uncle Cracker in Dyersburg, Tennessee. Will Zach Arnett, these names of these people.
It must be on the spot today. So
yeah,
I would like to address this because and obviously I might have to eat crow later on, and if they keep him, hey, that's fine.
I've got several recipes for crow.
That's fine. But
hey, I thought Dan Enos was a good pick at Arkansas.
I'm gonna just put this out there. There has been a lot of talk, a lot of smoke towards Zach Arnett taking the defensive coordinator job at USC. Take with that how you want it. I think Zach Arnett realizes that he's in and over his head right now. I think down the road, I think Zach Arnett could be a heck of a head coach. I just don't think he's experienced enough. He hasn't had enough, experience to be a great head coach. And, we go look at Mark Stoops. So look at what Mark Stoops has done at Kentucky. Mark Stoops at Kentucky, they've reached their ceiling. Like, they are consistently now going to be a 7-5 on a good year, 8-4, maybe 9-3. Zach Arnett realizes how hard it is going to be to win at Mississippi State, especially when he doesn't have experience with recruiting and in-game decisions. He's used to running a defense. There is a lot of smoke for him to take the defensive coordinator job under Lincoln Riley. I forgot their connection there at USC. If that were to happen, Mississippi State could go after Willie Fritz at Tulane, which I think would be an interesting hire. Jeff Libby would be an interesting hire. Even Mike Elko at Duke. So those are the names I'm hearing right now. Obviously, I don't think if that coaching change does happen, Mississippi State's going to have to go after a guy that is not a Mississippi State guy. Go with somebody who is outside the program, like Mike Leach was, and really bring somebody in that can kind of revamp this Mississippi State football program.
Yeah, you've got to do something. I mean, again, if you've made the wrong hire and it's the wrong hire, you've got to pull the plug. It's no fun. But I like Zach Arnett, everything he said, but I based that on two things. What he did as the defensive coordinator and the fact that, well, if he can do that with Mike Leach, he can do that with the other coach. But the thing I was concerned about is what's biting him on the brass. And that is when you become the head coach, you don't really get to coach that much. And that's been the problem. Mississippi State, has a hardcore fan base. They are loyal beyond description. I've been to a lot of games down. They've got a lot of Mississippi State fans. Again, they're farm, they're an ag, mechanical engineering, architecture, vet school. They're a land grant school. Those are the best, most loyal fans of any school in the country. So they've got that part, but don't drive it down. I like Jimi Hendrix. Are you experienced? You're probably too young to remember who Jimi Hendrix was. He could play the hell out of a guitar, but he was a member of the 101st Airborne at Fort Campbell. And he was a hell of a guitar player, but he had that was a great song. Are you experienced? Zach Arnett is 31 or 32?
31.
Okay.
And here's the thing. He is a likable dude. He's very, very nice dude, but likable dude doesn't win football games. Rob, I was walking around after the Mississippi State-Kentucky game back to the car to drive back to New Albany on Saturday night. Yeah. And I was walking with Jackie Sherrill. We kind of walked outside the stadium together, and after we took a picture, we were talking. And he stopped for every person that asked him for a picture. Yes. Because he understands what Mississippi State football is about. Mississippi State football, Mississippi State fan base, and you mentioned this, they are a blue-collar, agriculture-based fan base. They are, and Rob, I'm just going to put this out there, probably the most diverse fan base in the SEC when it comes to unity of races. I mean, you look up in the stands in Starkville, you've got blacks and whites and Indian and Hispanic and all these other nationalities blending together to make Mississippi State football so great. My dad, who is a diehard Kentucky season ticket holder for football and basketball, I'm going to go to Oxford on Saturday morning. We'll go to Starkville on Saturday night. I want you to observe both the fan bases, the atmospheres, and he said the same thing. He said that Ole Miss, as great as it is, it's a fun place to be. It is a very elitist. It is a very rich, mostly predominantly Caucasian fan base. It is what it is. You go to Mississippi State, you're driving through West Point, you're driving through Columbus, and you're seeing all nationalities and all people coming together to root for the Bulldogs. You got people, like my dad said, you had some girls dressing up in dresses and high heels, some girls dressing up in, sweats and a T-shirt, and some guys wearing blue jeans and boots, some guys wearing suits. And that's what Mississippi State is. And I think that is what Zach Arnett has tried to tap into. But he's got so many other issues going on. If Zach Zellman, the athletic director at Mississippi State, decides to keep Arnett, or Arnett does not take the defensive coordinator job at USC, I do think there has to be no decision about it. Kevin Barbay has to go. He is, without question, the worst possible fit for Mississippi State football in their offensive scheme. I mean, he has wasted Tulu Griffin. He has wasted away Xavier Thomas and Will Rogers, Woody Marks. That offense is so archaic, and it is so disappointing to watch talented guys like Will Rogers get wasted away in an offense that was built back in 1950.
Yeah. Well, Shoney give the job to Chris Hatcher. Isn't he the coach at Samford over on Lakeshore Drive? I mean, look, here's what I'd say. Jackie Sherrill was on the show a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely love him. And I tell you, he is so authentically, wherever he is, but he took Mississippi State, Bob Tyler and some other coaches that had success there, but he took them for 13 years. And he went big on junior college. And, that's probably what, was his downfall at the end, because it's just too heavy on JUCO. But he understands the people down there. He's from Duncan, Oklahoma, or Duncanville, Oklahoma. Duncan, Oklahoma, yeah. But went to Alabama, played for Coach Bryant. He's one of the smartest people in sports. And, again, he needs to be involved in a commissioner's role. Look, 31 years ago in Memphis at the Touchdown Club meeting, I was there. He predicted these 4 or 5 super conferences. He said that's where we're going in 1992. He that was a harbinger of things to come. He's clairvoyant. Look, the guy, I asked him, I said, where did you get such a good sense of business? His business acumen is incredible. Coach Bryant, that's another thing he learned from him and playing for him. And he just learned about business and about, how to get things done. And they need to have Jackie Sherrill involved, bring him back as an advisor or something. Pull that fan base together.
I was just about to say, if the coaching decision is made after the season, I would not be shocked to see Jackie Sherrill kind of be kind of like a Steve Spurrier is for Florida, kind of be like a little advisor. Because his welcome home to Starkville on Saturday night was remarkable. I mean, I didn't grow up around Mississippi State football. I grew up around Kentucky and Memphis, and now that I'm married into it, I cover the team. I'm around the team a lot. Those Mississippi State fans love Jackie Sherrill. They love that 1998 team, and he understands Mississippi State. He gets it. Like I said, after the game on Saturday night, I was walking back to the car, and Jackie Sherrill stopped for every single person.
Yeah, he will.
Walking from the junction all the way back to the North Garage to take pictures with everybody. People were. I saw an older lady. She said that she had season tickets in '98, and she told him that her husband had passed away or whatever. And Jackie Sherrill remembered her husband. I guess because of a booster club or something of that nature. So it was really neat to see that welcome of Jackie Sherrill and the '98 team. I mean, he came out, Rob. He was pimping, man. He had that big old cane and maroon jacket on, and he had that swag walk to him. And I was like, I hate that. He's in his 80s. I was like, this guy's got.
He's 78. I think he's 78, but he's sharp as a tack. Lives down there, Wimberley, Texas, between San Antonio and Austin.
Great too. So
yeah.
If the decision is made to get rid of Zach Arnett, then I would expect Jackie Sherrill to get with Zach Selman, the athletics director, and kind of be that advisor to kind of lead Mississippi State football into the future of Bulldog football.
Well, and I'm texting him right now just to tell him we're talking about him on the show, and he lives in Wimberley, Texas, between San Antonio and Austin, and the Touchdown Club of Memphis. I mean, he and Tony Barnhart. Tony comes up every year. He got an award this year. He's been up here 15 straight years, I know, and he got an award, just an appreciation for what he does for college football. And by the way, Tony Barnhart has written a book. It's on Amazon now, The 19 of Green, talking about, 50 years ago when they integrated his high school, and there were 19 kids on the team, and the 15 that are still living, he went and interviewed all of them about the integration and how that changed their lives and all. And Tony's he's a gifted writer, but he's a better person. He's just cool as hell. He's a DGD, damn good dog, but he covers college football and whatever team he's covering with the same passion he would his own school. And he still takes road trips with his friends to Georgia games. They went out to the Rose Bowl when they played Oklahoma a couple of, 6 years ago now, 6 years ago. But yeah. He loves the game. They go down to Jacksonville. They go to these games. But I will say this. If I were Mississippi State, I would ask Jackie Sherrill, would you come up here again? You're right. And work in a senior advisory role. I mean, you see that in politics all the time. You bring in steady hands who are good. And it's nothing against Zach Arnett as a person. I don't know. He's a husband, father, and I wish him nothing but the best. But you know what? 31 years old. Now I would not want to go to Southern Cal, though. I know he's from Albuquerque. But Lincoln Riley doesn't give a damn about defense. And that's going to be his downfall. He was a charlatan in Oklahoma. I don't like that kind of nothing against him personally, but that kind of football is garbage. I don't like it. You gotta play defense.
With USC going to the Big Ten, they're going to have to focus on defense a little bit more because that's just how the Big Ten is. I mean, I was looking at their scheduling. My God Almighty, they got to go all the way out to like Rutgers next year, and I'm like, holy crap! USC's got to go from California all the way to Saskatchewan, New Jersey to play Rutgers. That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, you wait till they have the midweek volleyball game, and they get caught in a snowstorm, and they're delayed there for 4 or 5 days. They better take all their school books and their laptops, okay? God help you if you're in anything where you've got labs, because those are hard to do remote, But I think We just got a couple of minutes left, Mitch. Great stuff. Look, free speech, the First Amendment, is more alive on the podcast world than it is anywhere else. You don't see Tucker Carlson or Megyn Kelly rushing to get back on TV.
No.
The podcast world, it's the growth is incredible. Like restaurants, a lot of them fail. Content is king. And I want to give you a double thumbs up. Get two of them, opposable thumbs. That allows us to work with our hands. But you always come on here and you're not afraid to say what you think. I've been around Mississippi State fans a lot. I've been to Starkville many, 37 games. They're just like Auburn. They're like A&M people. They absolutely love their school, and they don't look down on anyone. They don't. Now, they don't like Ole Miss, but and I got a ton of Ole Miss friends, and they're cool as hell. But there's always the rivalry, just like Auburn and Alabama. The difference in Ole Miss and State is they hate each other.
Yeah,
Auburn and Alabama, at least there's respect. You will never see a fight on the field in the Iron Bowl like you will in the Egg. The Egg Bowl might as well be Monday Night Wrestling.
One of them
entertaining.
Has all the money, and they think they're better than everybody else. Which I've got a lot of friends at Ole Miss. I cover Ole Miss. That's just the truth. You walk around their campus, you're around their students. They think they're better than you, and that's because that's how Ole Miss has been for the last 100 years. Mississippi State, they know they're not better than you, but they treat you with respect, and I've had nothing but fun times in the Grove. But living here in Mississippi, man, it is a different breed because they truly they hate each other. It's kind of fun. It really is a lot of fun, Rob.
Well, I like what this is a guy. I just got part of his quote. I think he knows because I know what it is. Gandhi once said, "I will not allow other people to walk through my mind with their dirty feet." You can't let students on another campus or fans, whatever, get in your head. You can control the controllables, but that Egg Bowl rivalry is an awesome. In everything they use it in a positive way too. Fundraising, who can out fundraise? Ole Miss is completing a $2 billion capital campaign, $1.5 billion for academics, and $500 million for athletics. And that, listen, that's bigger, to my knowledge, than any campaign. Now, Texas A&M, they don't count.
Yeah.
You do know that the state legislature in Texas gives 2/3 of the oil and gas money every year to the University of Texas and 1/3 to Texas A&M. That's why they will piss away $75 million probably to make Jimbo Fisher go away.
Yeah.
You know how many scholarships that could pay for kids to go to school? The people that put that athletic director needs to go. And the people that put that contract together should be brought out and publicly caned. That's a disgrace. Okay. But I digress. Mississippi State got a $100 million gift from one of their graduates, an alumnus of the school, lives out in Houston. $100 million back in the spring. If you've got a college of engineering, you know what? That's your profit center. Engineers are the people that really make all the money. Doctors do, lawyers, but you know what? Auburn got a check a few years ago from a guy, Dan Browne, I think, lives up in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And the biggest gift ever had been $55 million to Auburn from Raymond Harbert, from an individual.
Yeah.
And they get a lot of money, but he gave them $55 million, and he's there in Mountain Brook, Harbert, in management. Well, Dan Browne got up on the stage and said, "What's the biggest gift ever given to Auburn?" He said, "Okay, well, I graduated in 1957. Here's $57 million. You ever heard of Stryker Medical Corporation? That's him. Engineers, the Samuel Ginn College of Engineering at Auburn, just like the College of Engineering at Mississippi State.
Yeah.
It's your profit center."
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, that's the cool thing about it. My dad said one time when he was down in Starkville, he said their College of Architecture was the most highly funded of any college of architecture per capita in the South.
That's incredible.
So, and their College of Architecture is that retrofitted building right by the football stadium.
Yeah.
Jackie Sherrill, I'm going to tell you something. Talk to Jackie Sherrill about architect. The guy's he's a Renaissance man.
Yeah.
The dude is very smart, and he's so easy to talk to, and he looks right at you in the eyes when he's talking to you. Yeah. Mitch, real quick before you go, this is William Halliday, our intern from the Auburn Plains, sophomore at 6'1", 173 pounds, runs a 4.5 40. No, he's writes for the Plainsman, went to MUS, and as a sophomore writing. I always bring him on here with different writers. William, this is Mitch Davis on here with us, MitchDavisShow.com from Memphis. Just recently moved down to New Albany, Mississippi, covers Mississippi State. In the last 4 years, he has personally been to over 400 football and basketball and baseball games. Mitch, anything you might want to say before you go to young William, Billy Ray Valentine, the intern? Because I think he's got a really, really bright future, and he's got some of the best bedhead in America. Not this morning, though, because he's got to go to class.
Be yourself. Always be yourself. Find your own voice. And don't be afraid to ask the bigwigs for interviews. You'd be surprised how fun it is to get the Paul Feinbaums and Lane Kiffins of the world. And it's a lot of fun. But it's nice to meet you. And, Rob, I appreciate you having me on. Follow me on Twitter, MitchDavis_8, TheMitchDavisShow.com, and podcasts, Apple, SoundCloud, The Mitch Davis Show. So about to hop off here and get ready for some basketball.
Hell yeah. Too much is never enough. We'll see you in a few days.
Let's do it, baby. I'll holler at you.
All right. Thanks. Bye. All right. Coach Matt Dean on with us from Rhodes College in Memphis. William Halliday down the Auburn Plainsman, sophomore writing. Rob Browne broadcasting from my brother-in-law, Kurt Ham's Tennessee Vol Man Cave. And William, I mean, you talk about, everything, footballs, banners, flags. I mean, in his deck outside is all in contemporary orange and white deco. It's unbelievable. But what a great weekend, man. Coach Matt Dean, check in here with us. William, I went to the Audrey calls, and y'all are both smart. You know what a Skinner box is. Audrey reminded me of that yesterday. Those boxes that they would put the rats and the mice in, the psychologists, to see how they would figure a way to get out. That's what Dudley Stadium with the current retrofit at Vanderbilt is. And it's going to be gorgeous when they finish it. But, the Auburn fans were there in mass. It was unbelievable. Getting out of there, I'm glad somebody didn't yell fire. William, were you there?
I was not. I was thinking about going, but ended up going to a friend's house over the weekend. But I did hear it was a good atmosphere for Auburn fans, at least, because they pretty much covered the entire stadium. They literally, I saw something on social media. My friend showed me where they literally did the chant where one side says Auburn and then Tigers.
Yes, I was there.
That's gotta feel bad for a Vandy fan, to be honest. I don't know how you should feel about that.
Well, Vanderbilt, and my friend Bill James, his son Christian is a defensive lineman on there, Matt, that plays. And Matt, from coaching, that's frustrating. And Christian's already got a degree. He's working on a master's in the Owen College of Business. He's 6'5", 290, has a black belt in Taekwondo, a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, and trains with mixed martial arts. That kid's going to have a successful career in anything he wants to do. Certainly you want him to be your friend. I can tell you that. But it's got to be frustrating, Coach Matt Dean, when you look at Vanderbilt waited forever, and now the whole campus is being torn up, and it's going to be gorgeous. They should have played their games at Nissan Stadium for the year, or played all of them on the road, because it's terrible to bring recruits in and everything like that. But it is what it is. But man, when you see the finished product, it's going to be spectacular. Not as big as the other stadiums, but Matt, it's going to be spectacular.
Rob, you're selling your future. If you're recruiting to there, you're showing them the blueprints. You're showing them what's going to be. You got to have home games. And the problem with Nissan is that would probably even fill. Well, it probably would have filled up with Auburn fans on Saturday. But for Vandy, they want to be on campus. They want to have their traditions wherever they are. And he's just going through this year, and I'm assuming they'll be ready by next season. Correct, Rob? Is that the plan?
That I think it's the plan, because it's First Bank Stadium or the First Bank Field. They've got it should be finished by next year. The construction, y'all wouldn't. I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they've got their endowment at Vanderbilt's closing in on $11 billion.
Yeah.
Now, outside of Texas A&M's 19, Texas is 42 billion, and they're a private school. And they were having all the reunions. Guess who? Bo Carter, our good friend from out in Carrollton, Texas, the National Football Foundation, Baseball Writers of America. He came and hung out with us at the tailgate tent. We had a blast. But William, you know, you're in college. What did you think about the job that the Auburn Tigers did? I mean, I would like to have seen Auburn score 2 or 3 more touchdowns. They drop a lot of passes, a lot of offsides, a lot of holding. I mean, really, it's the holding penalties. But what were your takeaways, the good, the bad, and the ugly from Saturday's win, 31-15 over Vandy?
Well, my takeaways is that I don't think that Vandy should have gotten more than 1 touchdown, but they did because Peyton Thorne threw an interception that was right there for Vandy to take it. And I think that was a mistake on him, but otherwise it was a decent game from him. Jarquez Hunter went off. I honestly thought he'd go for 200, but I knew they wouldn't let him do that because, I mean, they're beating up on him. They're not going to get Jarquez Hunter hurt if they don't have to. But anyways, also I ended up watching the highlights of the second half because I was actually asleep in the car during the first part of the second half. Driving back from Birmingham. But the 50, was it like a 40 or 20 yard plus bomb that Peyton Thorne threw? That was the first one I've seen really him throw in a minute. Besides maybe a fade pass that had to be a 50-50 ball. But that's the one wide open pass that was more than 30 yards down the field. So I was happy to see that from him. But I think just it's good to be able to throw it against teams like Vandy and just get as many reps in as you can. So when it comes to Alabama, you're more confident into throwing the ball when they haven't been as recently.
Yeah. Matt, let's talk switching gears now. Look at Bo Nix's numbers at Oregon. He's only the 3rd quarterback in history to have over 90 touchdown passes and 35 or more rushing touchdowns. It wasn't the right fit. Bo Nix, I don't think he felt like what they had at Auburn was going to help him, and they weren't recruiting the players around him. They still don't really have them. They're doing the best they can, but let's talk about what went on with Oregon, this Pac-12, and that West Coast swan song for the Pac-12.
Rob, I was thinking about watching the game on Saturday. Bo Nix is clearly in the hunt for the Heisman Trophy. He's put up some phenomenal numbers. And to go back to what you just said, honestly, it's I feel terrible for Auburn because if the right coaching was there, it would have worked. I mean, you look at the system he's in now, and some of the, you're telling me that Auburn can't have the same skill that Oregon can have? I just disagree with that statement. Coaching matters, system matters, and not only is Bo doing well offensively, but he's such a leader. And him and the head coach, Dan Lanning, who is a defensive guy, Rob, as you know, they have a special relationship. And they're 8-1, big game with USC this weekend at home. And then they have a road game, Arizona State, and then their big rivalry, Oregon State at home, the last game. They have a clear path to possibly get to the college football playoff. Then they still would have to win the Pac-12 championship game. But this is not possible for Oregon without Bo Nix. It's not. Yeah. He has had, since he stepped on campus, I'm doing my math right, I think they are 21-4 with one of those losses to defending the 2-time champion Georgia. And the other 3 losses were basically in the last minute or last play of the game. Think about that. I mean, that's how good he has been as a head coach, as a starting quarterback. And the takeaway I have from Auburn too, Rob, is I think it's just positivity because, should definitely get to a bowl game this year. I think they got FIU in 2 weeks, very winnable game.
New Mexico State
this coming week, I believe.
Yeah.
The Mexico State, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You get those.
God love the Aggies for bowl
conference. Yes.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, Coach Freeze made a statement in his presser, he's always taken in the first year of a program, a team to a bowl game. And I think even though he didn't go outline clear goals this year, that's got to be one of his objectives, right? And if they can do that, which I think they will, it's just going to help springboard recruiting even that much more. I'll tell you what, my team of the week, though, has got to be Arkansas. You know, you're 2-6, you lost 6 in a row. You go down to Gainesville, and you find a way to win that football game. Good for Sam Pittman. I know it's anytime you let go of a staff member in the middle of the season, it's tough. Yeah. You let go of Enos, who they invested a lot of money in. I'd like to have his buyout, Rob, and give you the investment. Right. So the reality is Arkansas had a great week. Can they replicate that, you know? And then I thought Missouri played really well at Athens.
They did.
They're legit. They're legit. So that was my takeaways from SEC this weekend.
They are. We're a little bit back. Let's take a quick couple of commercial breaks here. We're going to come back. I like that Missouri, Eli Drinkwitz, he's quirky. So what? Who the hell that's not brilliant isn't quirky? I mean, you think Einstein would have fit in? I mean, people would have laughed at him. They did, but he's a pretty smart guy. I want to get back in. We're going to bounce all around the SEC. Coach Matt Dean in Memphis at Rhodes College next to the Memphis Zoo. William Halliday, the intern in the offices of the Auburn Plainsman on the 8th floor. We'll be right back after this.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Okay, Rob Browne back here with you on this Monday morning. A lot of football over the weekend. And, you mentioned about Arkansas going on the road and winning in overtime, 39-36 over Florida. And Franz Beard will be on in about 15, 20 minutes with us, GatorBaitMedia.com. That situation is it's mind-boggling. I thought Florida was going to do better.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, they're going to be struggling, William, to break 500. And you look at Hugh Freeze. I'm sure he's frustrated, but they had several more opportunities to score. That's always a good thing when you win a game by 16 points, and your fan base is saying, "Man, we should have put 45 or 52," and you're always wanting more. So. Let's switch gears to a game we hadn't talked about yet with both of y'all. 42-28, Alabama over LSU. And if I lost track of how many times Frank Duffy was commenting from Tuscaloosa. He was at the game with a bunch of his LSU friends. Matt House, the defensive coordinator, came from the NFL.
Yeah.
That's a mess. But William, what'd you think about that game? Were you surprised that Alabama won? I was not.
To be honest, I was a bit because I get that Jalen Milroe has gotten better since the start of the season, and he can throw a pretty nice deep ball. But Jaden Daniels, from what I saw from him, dude had 200 passing yards and 150 rushing yards that. He was on track to get I would have thought a 300-yard passing game. I thought he could have done it, and then with 150 yards, that would have been a heck of a game by him. And then Neighbors, I didn't realize how good of a wide receiver he was until I watched that game, and I get why he's going to be a first-round pick. that dude is just as good, if like as like the Jamar Chase, I think, and like his other like guy that's also on the team. I can't remember his name, but like I mean, they're like two of the top wide receivers in the nation, and I just think that offense was too good to where they could have, if Jaden Daniels hadn't gotten hurt, that they could have kept up with them even when they were down by 7, and that was the one time they were down by in the game. But I think if Jaden Daniels hadn't gotten hurt, they would have had a chance to win that game, and I think they would have.
Yeah, and Matt, you know, we all know the hit Dallas Turner on Jaden Daniels. And I mean, we all see targeting happen. And a lot of times we're like, no way. I mean, what your perspective, was that targeting in your opinion when he hit Jaden Daniels? He knocked the hell out of him. It looked like targeting to me, and there was nothing done about it.
Yeah, you know, as much protection, and we're talking about a Heisman candidate, not that it should matter, not that we're sitting there throwing flags, determining, you know, hey, Williams a Heisman candidate, you're not, so I'm going to throw the flag at you. But
got it.
I was just shocked, as well as he played, and Williams right. When he gets knocked out of the game there, I believe it was 35-28, guys, I think. Could be wrong. But that was obviously, you know, and I will tell you, LSU's one of the – they're kind of blessed because they have a great backup quarterback too. I mean, I like Nussmeier, you know.
Garrett Nussmeier,
I do. But like, I think Alabama has shown the Saban effect. You go back to like, if you remember when he benched Milroe for that USF game, it was almost like he wanted to prove to everyone else, hey, we're going to beat USF. It's going to be ugly. But now shut up and let me play this kid the rest of the season. He got some video evidence to get everyone on the outside realizing that this kid is our guy. And then after that, he just had a lot of confidence, and he's gotten better. You're right with him every game. And I was just what's amazing to me, and I don't want to. I'm a coach. I don't criticize coaches.
Yeah.
But you know how you don't spy better for a guy like Milroe. And honestly, I think he's a guy, Rob, I sometimes, if you could stop the run with just rushing 3 sometimes and dropping 8 against a guy like that, so you always – like I saw last night in the NFL, the Bengals were double spying Josh Allen. They had 2 guys assigned to him. And I just thought, like, if I'm an LSU fan right now, I'm really disappointed in the defense because you have a national championship caliber offense. You really do. Yeah. And I wasn't shocked that Alabama won the game. I will tell you this though, when LSU scored at the end of the first half on a really nice drive down there, they got back in the momentum they had. I was just shocked that they didn't make it a finished product because I really thought all the momentum was LSU's at the halftime. Right?
Yeah, interesting comments, Frank Duffy, exactly agreeing with what you say. He said, and Doug Dean said, Matt House is probably gone. Only 5 defensive coordinators making $2 million a year, and you cannot be this bad. No. That's just ridiculous. And Frank said exactly. I could have done better last night for $200 cash and a 30 rack of Ham's beer by just putting Harold Perkins to spy on Milroe from the opening kick to the closing gun on every play. Break down and contain unless you think you can get to him. That would have been the only coaching needed. No way Milroe was beating us with that arm compared to Jaden Daniels. You know, William, you're talking about the stats of LSU's offense, but they lost, he gave up 48 in a loss to Florida State, 55 in a road loss at Ole Miss, and 42 in a road loss. They're giving up. So that's, 48 plus 55. That's man.
What's that, 103?
103. They're giving up 145 points in those 3 losses.
Right.
That's averaging giving up 48.34 points a game in their 3 losses. That's not a great football team.
No.
That's a team that just tries to outscore people, William. You're not going to get – Brian Kelly in his second year, he got hot last year. What is Brian Kelly football? You hire a guy like Matt House? Come on.
Yeah. That's what Tennessee did last year and almost worked for them, but it didn't in the end because of South Carolina and they couldn't stop Spencer Rattler. So something's got to give at some point. But yeah, I mean, I thought like when I watched that game, like it was just bad tackling in the end. Like that was like obviously a point of it because they couldn't stop him from running or anything like that. I mean, also just like you see, like I've seen this like so many times with Jalen Milroe. He just has so much space to run because they think he's going to throw it the entire time. So they back up so much. And then Jalen Milroe gets a 10, 15-yard run out of it and is untouched. And that's just something you got to have like how Coach Dean was saying, like you got to have a spy on him, like at all times, like just to make sure he doesn't go and run it because he's going to do that eventually. But yeah, that's kind of what I think. And I got to head to class. Thank y'all for having me on.
Yeah. Hey, look, man, William, great stuff. Great content as always. Come back on with us here in the next week. I will get you back on. Thanks. All right. Matt, along the line what William's saying, get that spy on him. It's so obvious, but Matt House did that. Look what he did with Harold Perkins as a middle, what he put him at middle linebacker in the Florida State game.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not that big. He's not 6'6", 290. Harold Perkins, I believe, is 6'1", 215 pounds. That's as big as safeties in the NFL. Get our man Roman Harper. I mean, there's some big safeties out there. I think the problem with LSU is, and Pete Jenkins, one of the best defensive line coaches ever, is working with the defensive line. They're not built to get that surge up front. Without a great front four, front seven, 2 and 3 deep depth chart wise, it's tough to win in the SEC against the better equipped teams like Alabama.
Rob, I feel like they can correct a lot of this in the offseason with coaching, like you said. And obviously we know LSU is going to be top 5 every year in the country, if not top 2 or 3 for recruiting, right? We just know that. The thing that's unfortunate, I think, if I'm an LSU fan right now, is we're losing Jaden Daniels probably I'm assuming he's out of eligibility. Am I wrong? Is he back for another year? Is this it for him?
Jaden Daniels?
Yeah.
In today's world,
I don't know what his status is.
I don't know. I mean, he could have. I think he could come back if he wants to, but I doubt he will.
If he's gone, literally, that's a quarterback that can win you a national championship if you got your defense just decent. I mean, they also beat a Missouri game on the road where they gave up 39 points and were very fortunate to win at Missouri. You didn't mention that. You lose 55-49 at Ole Miss. I mean, come on, man, you can't give up 55. No. Now, the first game of the year, I think everybody underestimated how good Florida State was. I'll give them that. That's a tough opener, week 0, whatever you want to call it. That's really tough, right?
Yeah.
And on the road to Tuscaloosa, that's really, really tough game. But if you win that game, you control your destiny, basically, right? And my gosh, at least you get to the SEC championship game. I'm really shocked that they did not have a better plan for Milroe. I really am.
Yeah, well, it just makes you wonder who's paying attention. Here's Thomas and Tupelo. The collapse of Mississippi State reminds me of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Holy cow! Well, I mean, that's a mess.
Well,
it is.
Well, Rob, let me comment on that for a quick second.
Yeah.
Okay. They were. You lose a coach to a death like they did. They were built with Will Rogers and that offensive system.
Yeah.
Changed to a defensive coach. First-time head coach in the SEC. There's a lot more than that than just they fell off the cliff. People underestimate what impact Mike Leach had on that football team.
They do. He built a culture and he was doing it. I mean, and that Zach Arnett, I thought he would do well. Maybe he's 31. He's young for a head coach.
Yes.
He's got to be the youngest head coach in college football. Here's some more comments from Frank Duffy. I really like this. Bo Pelini, who had nothing when all the 2019 national championship guys graduated or went to the NFL, and many others quit on the team, did more with walk-ons in 2020 than House did the last 2 years with top 5 recruiting talent.
Yeah.
Perkins, with his caliber of talent, hasn't been misused this poorly since Dean Smith held Michael Jordan to 10 points a game. That's got to be tough. And I mean, and I don't know, but I don't know the extent of the injuries of Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a head. I just that was targeting. It's not like I'm mad at every Alabama fan. They don't make the calls, but the refs. How do you not call targeting? That's. I mean, in my opinion, this is my opinion. When it looks like you got a couple of teams, 2 or 3 teams that are heading toward making the college football playoff, I think they get calls. And it could be Georgia, it could be Auburn, it could be Tennessee, it could be Ole Miss.
Whomever.
You're going to get calls. I think they do. But that one, you can't miss that one. But I'll tell you what I'd really like to do. I'd like to get a doctor, like Dr. Andrews, or someone on who sees these all the time. Yeah. But if you were a referee, the head ref is in charge. Can he overrule the other officials if someone were to come up and go, if that isn't targeting, what is?
Rob, did they go to review on that? Did they go to the monitor?
I don't think they did. I don't, the Hello Birmingham.
How can you not go to the monitor on that? That's my point. You gotta check that out. And maybe to your point, the reason they didn't want to go to the monitor because they know it was targeting. I'm not being a conspiracy theorist here, but I mean, Dallas Turner's a great player, and you don't want to lose.
Yeah, I've never heard a bad thing about him. Look, I'm all for football being physical and knocking the hell out of each other, but we see targeting call, and I think there's been a reduction.
Yeah.
You know what someone said on the show last week? What call has been called more than anything else this year? And I said, false start. She said, absolutely. But even as bad as it is, it's still at this same time a year ago, year over year comparable numbers. Yeah. It's still 200 less than last year.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. I will tell you, I was frustrated watching the Oregon game this weekend.
Yeah.
Oregon won 63-19. So you're like, well, how are you frustrated? Well, it was a crazy start. It was sloppy. It was raining. And literally there were like 8 penalties on the Ducks to 1 on Cal. And I'm like, guys, if you're going to call holding, then you got to have it both ways. Because we know, Rob, as football fans, you can hold every play. You can call it every play if you wanted to on the line. And I was just getting frustrated. But it was almost like, well, these Oregon guys are just too good. We're going to even it out. I mean, it's not. I know that's not the case. I've coached. I know this. But sometimes as a fan, you just get frustrated when the calls get one-sided. I was just watching pro football yesterday. I'm a big pro football guy. And unfortunately, I'm a Chicago Bears fan, so I'm watching the Saints game. And it was like at one point in the fourth quarter, there's 7 penalties on the Bears, none on the Saints, right? And I wasn't mad about that. What I was mad about is I want my head coach to get in someone's ear because, hey, guys, I mean, I get it. You're calling stuff at us, but I know what's happening against us. Let's even this out. And, that's what that's what I really think. If you look at some of the great ones and you look at the reason Saban gets calls is, let me tell you what, Saban knows when he's been wrong and he's going to let someone know about it. And that's what I think is great about college coaches. You see more of that mentality on the sideline, when things like that go against them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brian Kelly, same way. I mean, Brian, he's very combustible. Very combustible. Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, the targeting rules, we've seen fewer targeting calls this year, which tells me that the message has trickled down after years of targeting calls, how to tackle better. I mean, nobody's trying to make football. I think some people are, but we don't want to see football less physical, less tough. Okay. Again, Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, said it best. Not even the adults can screw up college football as hard as they try. And that's the beautiful thing about it. And what I'm seeing, it takes a few years for a new coach to get in there. But if a dog will bite, he'll do it when he's a pup. If your coach doesn't get a signature win in the first year or two, then you got the wrong coach.
Yeah.
I mean, all I ever ask of my school and my team, I want them to win every game. I don't want them to give up points. I don't ask anything else.
Yeah.
But my wife said, Auburn fans, she goes, y'all are ridiculous. You get mad when the other team has the ball. I'm like, well, because you're always, as an Auburn fan, saying, how is that going to project forward to beating Georgia?
Yeah.
Or Alabama? Or historically when we played Florida every year, or LSU. And now, let me tell you something. Ole Miss, I like this. Ashley and South Haven, Mississippi. Ole Miss and the Lane Train are coming back from Athens with a W. That's going to be a fun one. I know, Matt, if you can stay on, Franz Beard's in the bullpen about to come on.
I got about 20 minutes left. Rob.
Yeah, okay. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to bring one of the world's most interesting men along with Frank Duffy on, but it'll be Franz Beard right after this quick commercial break for HR-2. Folks, that's hour number 2 of Sidelines Monday Morning Review.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
Browne back here with you, along with Franz Beard, GatorBaitMedia.com. How are you, Franz? Just another day in paradise. Yeah, that's he is.
It is. Life goes on here, even though the Florida Gators have yet to master the concept of I'm an offensive lineman. I am required by law to block the guy in front of me.
Yeah.
You know, and Florida, you know, I can tell you something. Florida just lost a football game at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Both lines of scrimmage got dominated, and this is a line of scrimmage league. Any way you look at it, it is a line of scrimmage league. The teams that play the best on both sides of the ball, those big guys, the glitter guys who score all the TDs get all the headlines, but they don't do it if the guys don't block and the guys don't tackle. And Florida had one of these games where they proved that Vince Lombardi was right. It's a simple game. You block better, you tackle better, you win better.
Yeah.
He didn't do any of those.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I mean, we were in Nashville, and Franz Audrey calls the Dudley Stadium that they're retrofitting, and it's going to be gorgeous when they finish it. But right now, there are very few.
It's going to be a dump.
Well, but it's right now. She calls it a Skinner. She calls it a Skinner box. And I said, she goes, don't you remember B.F. Skinner, the great psychologist that put the rats and the mice in the little box, and they had to go through all the little channels and doors and stuff to get out? But
isn't that Junior Samples BR549?
That's BR549. Yeah, it was tough, but you know, Matt, Coach Matt Dean here, you know, his son's on the staff out there with Dan Lanning at Oregon. Dan's a defensive guy. Dan Lanning's a pretty young guy. I don't know how old he is, but Dan Lanning has Kenny Dillingham. He did, but now he's at Arizona State as the head coach. What is when you become a head coach, and Matt, you've been an assistant and you've been a head coach. Would you agree that it's way more difficult than Junior Samples would ever guess to be a head coach than it is to be a coordinator? You don't get to coach as much, do you?
No, and by the way, it's always good to see you, friends. But by the way, it's an old saying, but like in basketball, when you move that 18 inches over, whatever the width of the seat is, it's just it takes a while for the game to slow down for you. And that's why I feel like in football, if I ever was a head football coach, my biggest job is to hire me a fantastic offense and defensive coordinator that I knew was not trying to become the head coach, right?
Yeah.
And then that would allow me to get in the ear of an official during the game to make sure the locker room was right and just be like a game manager and let them do their business. But by golly, if we got a 4th and 1, I'm going to make a decision to Franz whether or not we're going to go for it.
Yeah.
Franz, you got to have the damn play call to get it. So, I mean, we're going to work in conjunction. I'm still going to have override on decisions of going forward on crucial 4th and 1s and those type of things, whatever. Because ultimately, I'm the one that's on the chopping block, right?
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I think what happens, let's go to LSU for a second here. And this defensive coordinator issue, you know, a lot of times, you go back to 19, and I think LSU had the narrative, hey, talent over trumps everything. We could be so good, we can be deficient in certain areas, right? Well, I got to tell you what, guys. I mean, you got to have Franz in the head. You got to have the line of scrimmage right, and you got to have that defensive coordinator right, especially if you're an offensive guy. And here's another thing. If I'm an offensive guy, and Franz, I don't know because I don't watch enough of Billy, is he calling the plays or is someone else calling the plays? Because I think for me personally, I like to be just free to reign, and I trust my OC and I trust my DC. And I don't know if that's the case there or not. I have not watched enough
Florida, Billy calls his own plays, and there's going to be a lot of pressure for him to give that up.
Sure.
The biggest thing, I think he's got to get a special teams coordinator.
Okay.
They missed an extra point. They missed a field goal. I wrote this for Sunday. I said, the extra point and the missed field goal, the extra point was because of a bad snap. The missed field goal was because of a Chinese fire drill there at the end that threw everything off. A special teams coordinator would be nice. And those things are good. But Florida should have scored 49 points. They should not have been in a situation where it came down to an extra point or a field goal. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't have happened. But when your defense is forced to we're bringing 7 on every play and trying to single cover out there.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about KJ. If you bring 7 and you get him on the ground, it works. Yeah. But if you don't get him on the ground, then all of a sudden he's got lots of green grass in front of him. And you're talking about a 250-pound freight train coming at a 180-pound safety or defense, 190-pound safety or 180-pound corner. And it's like, it's like me trying to stand in front of a here comes a delivery truck at 80 miles an hour. Oh, I'm really going to stop that thing, aren't I? Yes, indeed. And Florida couldn't do it. On the offensive side, if Graham Mertz had time to throw the football, Graham Mertz would have picked them apart.
Yeah.
And he didn't have time. And give credit, I know I sound like I'm blaming it all on Florida. Give credit to Arkansas for playing inspired football.
Yeah.
Give credit to Arkansas for having Rocket Sanders back. And Lord have mercy, what a difference he makes. Did you see? I don't know if you saw that. He has an 11-yard run that sets up the winning touchdown, and he gets knocked off his feet. And he is flat out horizontal, gets a hand down, and is so strong that he can get that hand down and bounce himself up. Unbelievable. One of the best plays in the Southeastern Conference this year.
I agree.
On that one play.
Yeah. Let me say something. Wes Moore, ESPN 103.7 The Buzz in Little Rock, is going to join us a little earlier. He normally will come on about at the top, about half hour after. He'll be on in about 6 or 7 minutes. He's got to get out early today, but it's going to be interesting to get his take because, he covers Arkansas, and on Mondays he always says Clint Sterner, former Arkansas quarterback from Baytown, Texas. And they'll break it down, and then they got the touchdown club. So I like to get his perspective. But 39-36, you had Kenny Guyton as offensive coordinator. Matt, didn't you talk about it the other day, or Franz, one of you did? He had been previously on the staff with Tom Herman, and I think they both maybe spent some time up at Ohio State. And by the way, if Ohio State wants the NCAA to do something, I think they do it. I think what's behind a lot of this attack campaign on Jim Harbaugh is they don't like his glasses. No, I think they want him out of the way because he is a threat to Ohio State.
Trust me, there is a report out, and there are documents to prove it, allegedly, supposedly, that Ryan Day's 2 brothers are behind the guy who investigated it. And here's the thing about this, and you want to talk about the ultimate sticky wicket. In a court of law, you two guys, If I have evidence on Rob Browne that he's been robbing my hen house and getting my yard eggs and everything like that, and I take him to court, but I have illegally obtained evidence. I don't have eyewitness evidence, but I got evidence that's illegally obtained because I hacked into his computer. What happens when I go into court? Not only is it get thrown out, but I go to jail for hacking into his computer. Well, guess what? They've got the guy. Apparently, the investigator is from Manchester, New Hampshire, the guy who supplied the Washington Post with all of its stuff. And apparently they've got the documents on it. So here's the thing. If the NCAA uses it, Jim Harbaugh can sue them out of existence, which wouldn't be a bad thing. And you almost hope that it happens that way. But so you got and here's the one thing that I tell everybody. Do you think for 1 second that, well, Northwestern probably doesn't. Northwestern probably has, they got such high-tech stuff. They probably hacked into everybody's computers anyway, but nobody knows it. But do you think for 1 second that the other 13 schools in the Big Ten don't steal signals and stuff like that? The difference is Michigan got caught.
Correct. 100%.
Well, I will say this, Matt, you're a coach. You will always be a coach. I've talked to coaches anonymously off the record, not naming any of them, but they've said everybody does it. I've said this. My theory has been this looks like Ohio State and Ryan Day, who wanted to pick a fight with Lou Holtz. That ought to tell you about him. They want Michigan out of the way as a threat. That's what I think's going on. They'd won 15 of the previous 16 games. And then the last 2 years, Michigan has whipped Ohio State and won the Big Ten. They're 43rd and 44th Big Ten titles. That's what I think's going on. I think this is all they want Michigan out of the way. And we talked with Kevin Skarbinski on the Saturday morning roundtable. And I said, Kevin, I'm an Auburn alum. I've seen it before where two schools in the same state will do anything to each other. And he was just, I'm surprised to hear that. They will. These are not in the same state, but Ohio State and Michigan hate one another. I like Jim Harbaugh. I don't know him, but he wins everywhere he goes. I think there's a lot of jealousy and animosity. And again, Ohio State, they have their minders on every TV set trying to push the narrative. Matt, I think that's what's going on.
Franz said it better than anyone I've heard. They all do it. They just got caught, to paraphrase Franz. Okay. Everybody is trying to get everybody's signals. They go in the game. That's why without the audio and the headset, everybody's got these stupid damn signs up on the sideline, trying to make sure no one knows their play. If it is true that they had a disguise on the Central Michigan sideline, that guy's on there, that's a little bit overboard. Okay. There should be, and that kid is resigned. So we've had punishment there. But come on, man. I'm tired of it. They're just kicking your butt on the field. I don't know. Ryan Day, I gotta tell you, he's got to stop his stuff a little bit too. He's sitting there, after a big win against Notre Dame, he wants to talk about Lou Holtz in the post game. Come on, dude. Yeah. Once you figure out your offense so you don't rely to win games. Let me tell you something. I've watched a lot of college football this year. Franz, I'll tell you this. Ohio State's got a great defense. They don't have an offense to win a national championship, even though Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably the top pick in the draft in my mind. He's got to work on his offense a little bit before he starts talking about other people's situations, especially let's not talk about Lou Holtz. Come on, man. Really?
Well, let me put it this way. Right now, the two teams that can out-personnel anybody they play are Michigan and Georgia.
Yes,
they can out-personnel everybody.
Yeah.
Now, the question is going to be which one of them can outcoach the other, because if they make it to the national championship game.
Yeah.
And that part we don't know. But let me throw one other thing in there for all the other three of you. Do you know what SEC stands for? Now, some of you might say Southeastern Conference, but that's a lie. It does not stand for that.
Sure.
Sure. Everybody cheats.
Oh, no, friends, I agree with you.
That's true.
With the exception of Vanderbilt, which is why they're going to have another 2-10 season.
Yeah. Hey, let's
But
do this.
everybody, you got to have at least one homecoming opponent in every league.
Yeah, look, we got to do this. Wes Moore's got limited time with us this morning. And Matt, can you stay with us or you got to roll?
I got to roll, but it's always great to see you, Franz. Let's do it again soon. And thanks for the time, Rob.
Hey,
we'll do it again.
See you, buddy.
Matt, we'll do it again Thursday morning. Thank you so much. Wes Moore, ESPN 103.7, The Buzz in Little Rock, the capital city, the natural state, the land of opportunity. It is the state that has everything. That's why Nelson Rockefeller sent one son to West Virginia and the other one to Arkansas. And that's why, as a young boy growing up in Jacksonville, Texas, Wes Moore said, one day I'm moving to Little Rock and I will own the airwaves. And he does it. Great job. Also, sports anchor Monday through Friday nights, Channel 16, Fox Sports in Little Rock, covers UCA, the Bears, does those games on ESPN. Plus, he also covers all the high school sports in the state, the Razorbacks, and big win on the road. We got Franz Beard, GatorBetMedia.com, and he gave y'all credit for doing the job. And you were right last week. It'd be fun to see what would happen if KJ and the Hogs had fun playing football again.
Yeah, you saw that, man. The offense, how about that first drive of the game? 8 plays, bam, 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 down the field. It was just insane that 2 weeks ago against Mississippi State, they couldn't score a touchdown. Was that even the same team? Did that even look like the same team?
No.
It just shows you, man, the game of football is a tough game, and you have to be inspired to play. And that offense under Dan Enos had obviously lost faith, lost confidence in what he was trying to do. They went out there against Mississippi State and just looked like dead man walking, and just there was no life to that offense. And then they come out against Florida and look like a different team. And it was a lot of the same plays. They just ran those plays better. There were more plays with KJ running the ball. I don't know if that was how Florida's defense was kind of emptying the box and almost daring Arkansas to run it, but they did. And they just look like a different team. And, the offense inspires the defense. The defense goes out and gets a fumble and takes it back for a touchdown. And all of a sudden it's 14-0, and you still got fans trying to get to their seats. It was it's changed. Look, guys, the entire season has changed for Arkansas with that one win. Now they have a chance to come home, beat Auburn, Florida International, and play for an opportunity to go to a bowl the last game of the season against Missouri. And the outlook for the entire team, the entire state has changed because of one game.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, you've got a hangover, but you don't have any aspirin or water to drink. Now you get that one win. That's all that it takes. And I think that Auburn is walking into a hornet's nest Saturday because both teams are going to be fighting technically for bowl eligibility. Auburn could get it against Arkansas. They could get it against New Mexico State. They could get it against Alabama. But you know what? That's the great thing about college football and pro football too. Winning is like being cured of, some horrible disease.
Leprosy.
Yeah, I was going to say if that's possible. And, Wes, before I go to Franz, I got to ask you again. You looked at Kenny Guyton. Talk about what you saw out of him in the play calling down in the swamp. Because Franz knows this. And we were talking to Brendan Martin Saturday morning on the way to the game. You could tell he was like, God, these 11 or 12 a.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Eastern, those games for the visiting team, you've got the advantage, Wes.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, can you imagine the difference of playing that game at noon Eastern or 8 o'clock Eastern? It's just a totally different environment.
Yeah.
And look, Arkansas's had their share of 11 o'clock Central games because, well, honestly, they're not very good.
Yeah.
And so they've played a lot of them. They've got experience in those games. That helps. And I tell you what, the fans are not only excited they won a game, but they don't have a 11 o'clock game against Auburn. It's a 3 o'clock game. So they get to go and tailgate. It's supposed to be a nice day up in Fayetteville. So I expect a big crowd, a good environment, and now we're going to see how they handle some success. Look, there was a huge celebration in the locker room. They deserved it. They had a lot of fun, but hopefully they've moved on and it's back to work today. If they overlook or forget to play, it could be they're not good enough to beat Auburn if they're not ready to play.
Yeah.
I can tell you this much. They looked like a team that wanted it badly. And I could tell watching on the field after the game, this was their Super Bowl in a lot of ways because they'd had a 6-game losing streak. There was nothing bigger than to go on the road, everybody against you. And I'm sure Sam pitched that to them. Hey, guys, it's us against the world. There's going to be 90,000 people in the stadium, and 88,000 of them are going to be against you. And it's up to you. And I'm sure he pitched that. But here's the thing that I think that happened more than anything else. I think having Rocket Sanders in there gave that offensive line tremendous confidence. And when that defense saw the way that they came down the field like a hot knife through butter on that first series, I think those guys were inspired. I think they were already high and mentally and emotionally ready. But I think the way they saw that offense come out there and respond on the first drive, I think that inspired that defense to play out of their minds. They were playing with their hair on fire the whole day.
Oh, no doubt. Think about it. You just played a game against Mississippi State where all you did was give up one touchdown and you lose. Time after time after time, you did your job as a defensive player and forced a punt. And you lost the game because your offense could only score 3 points. That, by the way, you gifted the offense those 3 points with an interception return, and they still couldn't score a touchdown from inside the red zone. So for your offense on the first drive to go down like that, you're like, okay, here we go. Now we got our offense back. Now we're ready to roll. So, yeah, you're right. It did inspire the defense. I'll tell you, Sam Pittman also told them, you got a chance to do something no other Arkansas team's ever done, and that's win at the Swamp. Arkansas had never won in Florida. And so they made history, and they were celebrating that.
I think Sam did.
You mentioned something else.
Go right ahead. I'm sorry.
You mentioned something else. Rocket Sanders. Yeah, Rocket Sanders. I was told he and Nudie McGlothern, number 2, the cornerback, had basically thrown in the towel. The coaching staff did not expect them to play any this season. That was about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. Something obviously changed, and those guys decided to come back. Both felt like they were needed to be getting ready for the NFL. The season was over. It was a waste for them to come back. And so they were done. They were done playing, and the coaches were done with them. Something changed. There was obviously one big thing that changed, and that was a new offensive coordinator. But I was surprised when Rocket came back and started practicing, and then I was very surprised when I saw Nudie McGlothern in the game playing on Saturday. And he made a huge difference because they were forced to, because he wasn't there, they had to move the slot corner out to the outside, and that put Hudson Clark in as the nickel cornerback, slot cornerback. And, guys, he couldn't cover the slot for Florida, and you saw 2 quick touchdowns. They were picking on him. Nudie entered the game. That allowed the other corner to move back into the slot and then put Hudson Clark in his best position, and that's at safety. And that changed the ball game. So things changed with Arkansas. Things changed within the program, and you did. You're exactly right. Rocket running the ball made a big difference.
Well, here's what I saw, and that is when Rocket is in the ball game, you've got to pay so much attention to him, it almost takes away. But when Florida thought there was a pass in play, Florida had to unload the box. And I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you heard it, when you're sending 7 to get the quarterback, you better get the quarterback. But if you don't get him, which Florida did not do, You got a 250-pound freight train coming at you with lots of green grass and 180-pound guys with brown streaks down. Well, they had black pants on, so nobody would have seen it. But if they'd had white pants on, there would have been a lot of brown streaks in the back of their pants.
Yeah, and he's from, and you know what? Rocket's from Rockledge, Florida. Wes, you know that, and Franz. And you mentioned, maybe it was last week, that he possibly was out in Dallas doing his rehab, and how angry that would make a coach and the staff, the trainers, the doctors, that they would go somewhere else. It's unheard of. I mean, and you don't like guys other than your coaches working with your people, because it can be very confusing. But I like what, one of these comments, I just saw this come up here. Tommy in Atlanta, one win can give the team the spark it takes, because suddenly the mood changes, the narrative changes. When you're losing, it's like you're walking around with an 80-pound backpack filled with sand. It can become very burdensome. At the same time, when you win so much, if you're not careful, success can become a burden. You got to embrace the hard work and the thing that it takes. What did you notice, Wes, with the team before the game that was different? Just their body language alone, the smiles, KJ having fun, not sulking, that right there, or was it something else?
No, that was it. I mean, the Mississippi State game, Coach Pittman said it looked like this team during warm-ups, and when they would run out there offensively, they were going to their own funeral. There was no excitement to play the game of football. And you think about it, the games are supposed to be the funnest time because practice sucks. Well, the games have become just as bad as the practices, and it was like nobody wanted to be out there, and that all changed for Florida. The excitement was back, and they were ready to play football and have fun. And they did. They had fun.
I got to ask you, Wes, we see things like this a lot of times. One game gets everybody inspired. But, is it like a sparkler? It's all sparkly and everything like this, and then it fizzles out and there's nothing left. Or does it carry over? And I think that's going to be the big test for Arkansas.
Yeah.
Did they, for lack of a better term, did they shoot their wad all on one, did they fire all their guns at once on one game, or does it carry over? And I think that's going to be the big test for Sam, to get them ready to play the next 3 ball games.
Yeah. And this is one of the things I said last week. We forget, because of the losing streak, Arkansas had a good team. Now, they had some deficiencies. They had some areas of concern, and that was the offensive line, and that was glowing. But this is still the same team that had the ball in the fourth quarter in Tuscaloosa with a chance to tie up or take the lead against Alabama. This was the team that played in Baton Rouge, a night game, and had LSU in the fourth quarter in a dogfight.
Yeah.
They're a good team. They're not a great team. Maybe they're, an above average team. Let's call them that. So they've got some skill players. They got some players. So now that they've won, I think they've got a chance. And I said this last week. I said, guys, I feel like if they can beat Florida, they're going to run the table. And I still feel that way. But my biggest concern is exactly what you said. How did they handle the success? You called it their Super Bowl. I agree. It was a huge game. The Super Bowl is the last game of the year. Arkansas's got 3 more to go. How do they respond?
Yeah, you're right on, and we got to ask this question again, Wes. And going back, I don't mean to belabor a point, but you had talked about how it was dead, and Sanders and McLaughlin were thought to be somewhere on another planet somewhere, checking out the resorts and so forth. You got to wonder, are these things, they come back for one game, but now all of a sudden, are these guys back with the team? I mean, like when I say with the team, I mean with the team. because if they were just here for one ball game, it ain't gonna work. And I hope for Sam's sake, because I like Sam. You cannot. If you tell me you dislike Sam Pittman, then you can't call yourself a college football fan. Sam's what college football is all about. And I have to question, are they so me first that this was just a one-shot deal? Okay, we'll come back and show you how valuable we are to the team. Or did they come back and say, hey guys, forgive us. We have screwed up, but we are with you now. We are a team. What do you think? I mean, I have to question that, and I need somebody who knows Arkansas to tell me about it.
Well, just so we're clear, Rocket was injured with the knee, and Nudie did have a concussion. So they had a legitimate excuse. Well, those knee injuries and that concussion, I had been told they were cleared to play. They were good to go, but they weren't playing for some reason. The reason I was told was because these players were getting bad information that they were ready for the draft. They didn't need to do anything else in college, that they had proven themselves, and they were going to be NFL players. We all think that's bad information. And my hope is they finally figured it out, these two players. You know what? I got the wrong people whispering in my ear. I got to still show the NFL something. I can't rely on what I did last year. And in Rocket's case, I felt like he needed to show the NFL he was healthy, that the knee wasn't an issue. And McGlothern, he just needs to be playing some more. So anyway, we don't – to answer your question, we don't know. I don't know how these two guys will respond. They got in, got their playing time. They got their win. What are they going to do now? I got to think since they came back, they're in it for the long haul, and we'll see them, and they'll be ready to play against Auburn on Saturday.
Yeah, the interesting thing is like this Mary in Birmingham, the portal is making it harder to build a culture. When you've got a bunch of guys that have been together for 4 or 5 years, and you look on either side of you and in front of you and behind you, they're all there. They'll do anything. Al Pacino's speech in that great movie, Any Given Sunday. I want that guy that's willing to go, these 4 inches, yeah, who's willing to die. I mean, not die, but give everything they have. That's what you got to find out. And I think what goes on, guys, with these agents is a guy comes in, he has a good freshman year, a few games. They start this, he's going to the league. Okay. And it just manifests. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, a snowball effect. Come back as a sophomore, might not be as good. It's hard to be as good as you were when you were a freshman because nobody had ever seen it. It's hard to make a first impression. Then the third year, the agents are in their ears if they hadn't already transferred to another school, and they have 3 or 4 games early, and then they suddenly get injured. That's what I think's going on. And I'm going to tell you something. I really believe this to be true. I think the portal is if the same problems that you had at school A will surface at school B and school C. When we do the breakdown, and I'd love to see an audit of all the players, Wess and Franz, who've entered the transfer portal, then how many of them went on and did other great things? The ones going from P5 to P5, there's success there. Group of 5 to P5, there's some. Division 2 to Group of 5 or Power 5, it's tough, but it's going to end up being the same thing that happened to junior college. If you build your culture off of junior college players, get too many of them in there, it'll take you out of coaching. Same thing's happening with the portal. You don't know these people. You haven't been through tough times with them. Any elite unit of anything, a business, a military unit, anything, the closer you become closer, the more hell you go through. And Wess, you've got a great read on Arkansas. I know you have Clint Sterner from Baytown, Texas on every Monday talking to him. He's a hell of a quarterback. I wish he was still on SEC Network. I think he does a great job. I'd like to ask him, how confident would he be in the locker room with a bunch of guys that he didn't know, that he hadn't been through anything with. You know, with the portal being what it is today, I'd love to get his response because he's a warrior.
Yeah, I think that summer becomes so important. That's your time to bond with the guys in that portal, and try to get as many as you can in December so that they go through spring ball. I think that's a key too. The sooner you get all these portal players, and everybody's dealing with it. It's every single team. And some use it more than others. Excuse me. And I think that's the key. The team that relies on it more, can they have success? But I mean, I look at Arkansas basketball, and Musselman's used the portal, and there are times he's got more than half of his team are portal guys. He likes it because he's giving guys basically their last chance. There's no more, and it's really going to be even your last chance coming soon with the NCAA starting to hammer down on the two-time transfers and making you sit out. Well, if you know this is your last transfer, you're a senior or you're a fifth-year senior, this is it. This is your last chance. And you get their full attention. Musselman's hard to play for, but he has their full attention, and they got no other choice.
Yeah.
And because he's had success, that helps. And they will listen to him because he's got that credibility.
Yep.
Here's the thing that happens, though. For example, I'll use it in football. Lane Kiffin. Lane has got probably 25 transfer portal guys and of those 25, I think 20 of them are contributing right now. I mean, the question is this: how many high school kids go to Ole Miss that are really big studs, that are guys that Alabama wanted, that Georgia wanted? And I hate to use Alabama and Georgia all the time, but they are the standard for recruiting in the SEC. If Alabama and Georgia wanted you, you're a pretty good ball player, obviously. But how many guys go to Alabama and Georgia, and these other guys go someplace else? Well, guess what? Lane is not going to get these guys, coming out of high school. But he's built a good enough program that he can get the kids. He's got Trey Harris, who was at Louisiana Tech, 213 yards receiving the other, Saturday against the Aggies. And I think for schools like Ole Miss and somewhat in Arkansas basketball, Arkansas has some really good high school players. Do they have enough to sustain a program at a championship level every year? No, they don't. So he's going to have to use the portal to, if he can't get. And I think I love Fayetteville. I think Fayetteville's beautiful. I think that northwest corner of the state is gorgeous. I love that drive from Tulsa over to Fayetteville. I think through the Oklahoma Badlands, and then you get into that foresty area, 20 miles outside of Fayetteville. Gorgeous, really gorgeous. But how many kids see that, and then they look at Georgia, 40 miles from Atlanta, which they don't recruit well. But, I'm just using that as an example, like in football, 40 miles from Atlanta. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that, they think. Or, Knoxville's got a good scene, 500,000 people in the immediate metro area. Same with Lexington. It's harder to recruit some places, and the portal's got to be a necessity. And that's just one, it's like Florida basketball. We don't have Billy Donovan anymore, so we don't get the top recruits. So Todd Golden has he's going to end up getting 4 or 5 transfers every year.
Yeah. Well, Fayetteville's got 600,000 people, Wes, and it's the metro area up there, and it's got, you talk about culture. Just the Walton Art Museum alone is probably the largest private collection of famous art outside of the Louvre.
No, it's outstanding. What they have to offer up there, it is from business to arts to just quality of life. It's a great place to live, no doubt. Yeah.
Well, one thing for sure, we're talking about this. wait till these kids, 99% of these guys are not going to play professional football or basketball or whatever. That's a fact. So those 99%, what's happening in the job world? I mean, we're seeing it now. Try to go get good customer service and find people to work since the virus hit. The virus was, it's a virus on work ethic. But I'll tell you something. Whether you're an employer, Wes and Franz, and you're looking at somebody's resume and they're going, Wes, you signed with Arkansas, then you transferred to Delta State, then you transferred to South Alabama, then you transferred to Georgia Tech. And if I hire you, when I give you a tough work assignment, are you going to just quit? Are you going to transfer? It's not. That's why this thing will collapse on its own weight. Trees don't grow to the sky. That's what I tell clients about stocks. You've got to remember to have points where you're going to sell. And how much pain can you take if a stock goes way down? It's called sell discipline. Wes, I think the transfer portal, it can help you, but you better vet those kids and get the right ones that fit your culture. Look at Alex Anthopoulos and what he does with the Braves. Now, this past year had the best season in franchise history, had more guys steal more than 40 bases and hit more than 40 home runs and all that, went out in a flash to the Phillies. But, Wes, I'd love to see those numbers on the portal, because if guys quit, and typically the problems they had at school A will follow them to school B, and in some cases, school C. Wes, would you agree?
Yeah, and when you get to the portal, I think more than anything, and you nailed it, it's the vetting process. Is this guy going to fit in with our culture? And you've got to be very careful, because all it takes is one or two bad transfers, and it'll destroy a program and the culture that you've built.
Yeah.
And I kind of like what Pittman's doing with that. And I think I think he's done a pretty good job with you can just look at the players and the contributions they're making on this team.
Yeah.
Look at Josh Browne, from Florida, stepped in. He's playing right guard for the Razorbacks.
Ball game Saturday.
He did. He had one mistake, but you know what? He blocked really well, protected KJ really well. And, that's just the first one on offense. All the receivers are transfers. Armstrong had a heck of a game until he knocked himself out with a concussion on that touchdown. That kind of summed up the Razorback year for me right there. He caught a touchdown and dropped it when he knocked himself out when he hit the ground. That was just a play that summarized to me their entire year. But for them to come back and get the victory, and it was good to see Armstrong back on the sideline after the game celebrating too. So,
hey, Wes, winning in the swamp is like running a sub 5 minute mile. I mean, that's a big deal. And I think sometimes fans, we all are guilty of it, whatever school we went to, who we pull for, never fail to take time to appreciate a win. I don't care who it's against. But the thing that I see with the portal, and it's, again, how many times, Franz, as a young writer, did you want to just say, this sucks, I can't do it? Wes, how many times when you were a young reporter, I'll never forget my first night at Channel 3 in Columbus, the first day on the job. Well, we normally would send you with a photographer, but the guy was going to go with you is out sick, or one of his kids was sick. You got to go do this on your own. I had to figure it out. You know what? There was no option. Otherwise, they'd have fired me. Wes, how many times have you been in situations when you've shot your own video? And I know you've got great support around you, but that's what made you who you are, and that's why you're a badass in the industry.
Yeah, I'll leave you with this. That's exactly what Pittman told the team afterwards. He goes, there's going to be times in your life where times are tough, and there are two things you can do. You never want to quit, and guys, you didn't quit on me, and we got our victory, and let's move on from it. So I thought that was a great life lesson for the Razorbacks, exactly what you said.
Great coaching job by Sam. A really great coaching job by Sam, I think, to pick up the pieces and put them back together again. And it really was. This was their Super Bowl, but hats off to him for for using that off week to really get his team ready to play a game. More so, the physical talents obviously got it, but this game was decided between the ears. It really was. They were ready to play at a better level, and it showed in the way that they showed up. Florida did not, but that's not. I'm not saying that they won because Florida sucked. Florida sucked, but Arkansas played well. Arkansas played winning football, and Florida did not.
Yeah, and you know what, Wes? I know you got to get going, but that's why you love Sam Pittman. And ultimately, all the coaches that you get to talk to, Wes, you do, Franz, that I get to, they're so much more interested in looking forward to 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now, the young men that they coached being productive fathers, husbands, business leaders, successful in life. You want to win your games, damn it. You're right. They will fire you in a heartbeat, but you can do both. You get the right people in there. But Wes, what are y'all talking about on your show today? And we'll let you go and let people know how they can follow you and all that stuff. But we really appreciate you taking time out of your morning to share with the people, the listeners and the viewers on Sidelines.
Yeah, we got Alyssa Lang today from the SEC Network. We're at the Little Rock Touchdown Club. So we'll be talking a lot of SEC football with her. Clint Sterner at 10:30 today. So talk a little NFL and Razorbacks with him. So a lot of football to talk about today. You can listen on 1037thebuzz.com. You can download our app on your app store. It's the Buzz app. And we'll get started here at 10:06 today.
She's a great speaker. She spoke September 18th to the Memphis Touchdown Club. Alyssa Lang, she knows her football. She grew up cheering for the Hokies. Both parents are tech graduates. Y'all are going to love her.
Awesome. Good. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Have a great one. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break. Want to remind you, Red River Ford Toyota in Wynne, Arkansas says on the screen here, no vehicle payments on all vehicles until 2024. Tons of vehicles in stock. Again, I was over there Thursday before we went out of town. We're up in Clarksville, Tennessee right now. My brother-in-law's man cave, Kurt Ham. Vol for life. I tried to get it to where it wasn't all orange and white in the background, but it's everywhere. And it's nothing wrong with that. My wife is a Vol for life, but it's what makes this conference so much fun. They have a new service manager, Lynn Hutchison, who is from Ridgely, Tennessee. He won the Excellence Award with Nissan for 5 straight years. He's now at Red River Ford Toyota in Wynne, Arkansas. They videotape and they condense it as the tech works on your vehicle. I was getting my tires rotated and balanced and also an oil service. Great job at a very, very reasonable price. Check them out. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., 45 minutes from Memphis. If you're on Highway 64 going back and forth to Heber Springs, it's about a half mile south of 64 on Falls Boulevard there in Wynne, Arkansas. RedRiverFordToyota.com. John Dobbs Jr., part of the Red River Auto Group with Mitch Ward and the Ward family, been in the car business for a long time in Arkansas, as the Dobbs family has in Memphis for a long, long time. They will deliver anywhere. And so also ECS House Industries, proud to be associated with them. All the great ag equipment and the combines and the better roller, the pulverizer, the better chopper, and the aerators that you see on all these catfish farms all over the country and around the world are made in a 99,000 square foot warehouse in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, right in the heart of the Mississippi Delta, located between Wynne and Jonesboro. Chad House and those people up there are great. Last year, a couple of days before Christmas, Audrey looks on Facebook and sees Chad. This is the kind of guy you want to work for. The company is over 75 years old. You want to work for someone like Chad House. He said, this is my favorite day of the year. I get to write bonus checks to my employees. He is invested in his employees, and it shows. Everybody I ever meet that works over there, gung-ho, they love it, and we're proud to be associated with them. Let's just, again, take one quick break from another sponsor of ours up in Nashville. And by the way, make a point. Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Get out there, open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. After Thanksgiving, they'll be open on Sundays, 1 to 5 p.m. They got second largest Filson dealer in the Southeast. They've got more duck heads than you've ever seen in your life. They got over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's and children's boots. They've got toy guns for the kids. They've got everything you can imagine. Old South jeans, Old South t-shirts, Devil Dog jeans, STS. They've got Pendleton, Schaefer. They've got more good-looking clothes in there than you've ever seen. Check them out, hewlettandunn.com. We'll be right back.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am R.A. Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
Rob Browne back here, just a couple of more minutes here with Franz Beard. Man, there's just a lot going on. We've covered a lot today. And Brendan Martin was on with us on the way from Ocala to Gainesville Saturday. I think it's 34 miles. But you can just tell those 11 a.m., 12 p.m. Eastern kickoffs, they suck. They're just
they do.
They're horrible.
TV sets the schedules, and because they pay all that big money, then you're kind of stuck with it. It's not a good. It's not a good thing. It's really not healthy for college football. But it's what we've got because we've sold ourselves out. And the problem is this, Rob. Years ago, the conferences had the power because TV. You got ESPN, which was begging and needing the content. Okay.
Yep.
And the conference has had the power. And instead of saying, okay, you're going to pay us X, X, and X, and we're going to play games here, here, and here, and it's up to you to adjust, we let the tail wag the dog, in other words. And they had the money, and CBS wouldn't budge on that. CBS said, okay, we'll do the 3:30 game and a few night games, but that's it. And the SEC wanted more out of them, and they wouldn't do it. And now they're going to pay the price because they're going to get a 3:30 game, yes, in the Big Ten, but who's going to watch it?
Yeah, you're right. Look, Franz, we're about out of time, but awesome job today. And talking to Brendan the other day, we're talking about you. It was pretty funny. He said Franz is an incredible writer. We had one of the comment from one of the people on here. Obviously, he gets GatorbaitMedia.com. You're an elite writer. You are. You're churning out content every day. I call it show prep. I always give you credit, but hell, I can look on there every morning and see your daily thoughts and your final pithy thoughts. And you cover the Gators, but you also cover the SEC, college football, basketball, baseball. You get the big picture around the country. And I think one thing we didn't get into today, we've just run out of time, man. There's just a ton of cool comments on here. But I'll leave it with this. Jimi Hendrix in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Are you experienced? Franz, do you wish you could have played the guitar like Mr. Hendrix? I mean,
I saw him play twice. I saw him live twice.
You son of a,
saw him in Jacksonville and then saw him in Fayetteville, North Carolina. The one in Fayetteville, he played for he just kept playing. The concert went on for 3 hours, and he was really, really good. And a lot of things people don't realize is the Allman Brothers were the Allman Joys. They were the house band at the ATO house here in Gainesville.
Lord,
Dwayne and Greg used to teach. Greg organ and Dwayne guitar at Lipa Music. Stephen Stills went to high school with my sister here in Gainesville. Don Felder and Bernie Ledden, who started a little band called the Eagles. They were pretty good.
God.
They're Gainesville boys. They had a band called the Monday Quintet. Steven Stills had the Continentals. I was here. Tom Petty in high school, his band was the Epics, and Tommy and I played midget league football together. We won the Hughes Supply County Champions 1963. But he had the Epics, and the Epics became Mud Crutch. That's when Mike Williamson moved over here from Jacksonville. Yeah. And Mike never got enough credit as a guitarist and everything. But this was pretty good music place.
No, it is. Gainesville's like Memphis and some other cities, the state of Mississippi, the birthplace of American music. That incredible stories. Listen, we've run out of time. Great show. Thanks everybody that listened, that watched. Got to tell you, support all of our sponsors. Again, like Tom Martin's Body Shop, G.E. Patterson, B.B. King, downtown Memphis, open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m., 6 p.m., the best. They'll make the paperwork and everything easy. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Do yourself a favor. Go out, show real, genuine acts of kindness and genuine care about other people. Doesn't matter if anybody knows what you did. God knows what you did. We're all blessed. Go bless others. We're blessed to have Franz Beard, Wess Moore, Matt Dean, William Halliday, Mitch Davis. Great people on this show every day. We'll do it again tomorrow. Until then, we are out of here.